stop what you're doing. If you are in northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Michigan, and especially if you are a farmer, an orchardist, or a gardener in any of those states, I need your full attention for the next 15 minutes. Tonight's freeze is not like the frosts you have already dealt with this spring. I know you have been through this before. I know you're tired of it. But this one is different in a way that is genuinely dangerous, and the reason it is different is something most weather coverage is not explaining clearly. It is not just about the temperature. It is about what happened to your plants before the temperature dropped. Let me explain exactly what is happening, why it is worse than it looks, what you can still do before sunset today, and what you need to start documenting right now for your future crop insurance claims. To understand why tonight's freeze is uniquely damaging, you have to go back 2 weeks. Over the last 2 weeks of May and into early June, temperatures across the upper Midwest ran 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit above normal for the time of year. In Minneapolis, highs reached the mid-80s in late May, temperatures more typical of late July. In Green Bay, Wisconsin, afternoon readings pushed into the upper 70s and low 80s for nearly 10 consecutive days. In Traverse City, Michigan, the warmth was similarly extreme and sustained. For people, that warmth was welcome. After a cold and dragged-out spring, it felt like summer had finally arrived. But for plants, and this is the critical part, that warmth was not simply pleasant, it was a biochemical activation event. Plants regulate their internal biology based on temperature signals. Through the cold months of winter and early spring, they maintain what biologists call cold hardening, a set of internal adaptations that protect their cells from freeze damage. These adaptations include changes to cell membrane chemistry that keep cells flexible rather than rigid in the cold, the production of antifreeze proteins in plant tissue, and the management of water distribution inside cells to prevent the formation of ice crystals that rupture cell walls. Cold hardening does not happen overnight. It develops gradually over weeks and months in response to cold temperature cues. And it undevelops in the same way, gradually, in response to warm temperature cues, as plants prepare for active summer growth. When temperatures ran 20 to 30 degrees above normal for 2 consecutive weeks, plants across the upper Midwest received a powerful, sustained warm signal. They interpreted that signal as a definitive end of the frost season, and so they did what plants are biologically programmed to do. They accelerated growth, expanded their cell walls with water to push out new leaves and shoots, and systematically dismantled their cold, hardening defenses. Think of it as a soldier who has been standing guard at a post for months, watching for threats. After 2 weeks of absolute quiet and warm sunshine, they put down their armor, took off their protective equipment, and sat down to relax. That is where your plants were when this cold air mass arrived. Now the freeze is here, and your plants are without their armor. Here is the second thing you need to understand, and it compounds everything I just explained. This is not the first frost of the 2026 season. If you have been following this channel's coverage since April, you already know we have been through this before. By most counts, this is at least the 5th significant frost event to move through the upper Midwest since the beginning of the growing season. Each one of those previous frosts caused damage. Cellular damage in leaves, stems, and blossoms, losses of early planted crops, stress on fruit trees at critical development stages, and each time, plants recovered. But recovery is not free. It costs energy. Plants draw on stored carbohydrate reserves in their root systems to fund the repair process, to rebuild damaged tissue, to regrow killed leaves, to generate new growth points after frost-killed ones die back. Every recovery draws down those reserves. Think of it as a savings account that gets drawn on repeatedly with no deposits. After the first withdrawal, the account is still healthy. After the second, it is reduced. After the third and fourth, it is significantly depleted. After the 5th withdrawal, especially a large one, there may not be enough left to fund a full recovery. Northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, corn and specialty crops. For row crop farmers in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, the concern this week centers on corn that has emerged and is at growth stages roughly classified as V3 to V5, meaning the plant has 3 to 5 visible leaf collars. At these early growth stages, the corn plant's growing point is still below the soil surface, which provides some protection. A hard freeze will kill the exposed leaf tissue, which will look devastating, brown, collapsed, dead leaves. But if the growing point survives, the plant can recover and push new growth within days. The critical threshold is whether the freeze is hard enough and long enough to penetrate the soil to the growing point depth. Tonight's forecast, low temperatures of 25 to 28 degrees, if sustained for 4 or more hours, approach the threshold where growing point damage becomes possible in sandier, better drained soils that do not hold heat as well. Specialty crops, vegetables, strawberries, small fruits, and transplanted bedding plants across hobby farms and market gardens have no such protection. These are fully exposed, fully unhardened plants in the direct path of freezing air. Many of these will be killed outright tonight without protective intervention. The Ohio Valley, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. Your time is now. The cold air mass driving this event is not stopping in the upper Midwest. It is moving eastward, and its leading edge will reach Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky over the coming weekend. If you are in those states watching this now, you have something that upper Midwest residents have largely lost. Time to prepare? Use it. The preparation steps I am about to describe in a moment apply equally to you. The difference is you have 2 or 3 days to do them rather than hours. I want to be direct and specific. Here are your action steps. Cover everything tender before dark. Row covers, the white floating fabric sold at garden centers, are the gold standard. They trap ground heat and provide 3 to 5 degrees of frost protection. But if you do not have row covers, improvise. Old bed sheets work, cardboard works, especially over low-growing plants, plastic works, but it must not touch the plant tissue directly or it will conduct cold directly onto leaves. Way down the edges, so wind cannot lift the cover off. Water your garden beds this afternoon. Moist soil holds heat dramatically better than dry soil. Watering in the late afternoon deposits heat energy into the soil through the relatively warm water, and that heat then radiates slowly upward through the night, raising the temperature at ground level by 2 to 4 degrees compared to dry soil. For gardeners without row covers, afternoon watering plus any form of cover can be the difference between survival and loss. Move every container plant indoors before dark. Potted plants have no ground insulation beneath them. The soil in a pot chills to ambient air temperature much faster than in-ground soil because it is exposed on all sides. Container plants of any tender species, tomatoes, peppers, basil, annual flowers, will be killed tonight if left outside. Orchardists with overhead irrigation, start your systems before temperatures drop to 34 degrees and do not shut them off until temperatures have risen above freezing in the morning. Shutting off irrigation before temperatures rise will cause the ice to evaporate and pull heat from the plant tissue, accelerating damage rather than preventing it. For commercial growers, whether you are a 500-acre grain farmer, a 20-acre cherry orchard, or a 5-acre specialty vegetable operation, I need you to hear this clearly. You are likely running out of season to recover from the cumulative frost damage of 2026. Crop insurance claims for freeze damage require documentation. They require evidence. A claims adjuster who visits your operation in August cannot verify what happened in the first week of June without a record. Here is what you need to do, starting tonight and continuing tomorrow morning when damage becomes visible. Take photographs of every field, every block of trees, every crop type affected. Use timestamps. Your smartphone photos automatically embed the time and date. Write down the low temperature you recorded at your location with your thermometer, the time temperatures dropped below critical thresholds, and how long they stayed there. Note the growth stage of every affected crop at the time of the freeze. Log today's event as the 5th frost event of the season, and include your notes from previous events if you have them. If you do not have documentation from the prior 4 frost events this season, start now. Your insurance adjuster and your FSA representative will ask about the cumulative impact of the season. I think it frosted 5 times is not documentation. Dated photos and temperature logs are. The heat that felt like relief 2 weeks ago set your plants up for the hardest fall they could take. The freeze arriving tonight is finding crops that are fully exposed, biologically unprepared, and running on depleted energy reserves from 4 previous battles. This is the most dangerous frost event of the 2026 season. Not because the temperature is the lowest we have seen, but because of when it is coming and what came immediately before it. Protect what you can before dark. Document everything starting now. And if you are in Indiana, Ohio, or Kentucky watching this, you still have time. Use it. Share this video with every farmer and gardener you know in the affected areas. This is time-sensitive information. And come back tomorrow. I will have a full damage assessment update as reports come in from across the region.